with the use of fireworks or use of any type of fire, because if you continually do that and you continually are safe with your fire practices, then it won't really matter, because it's ingrained in you to always put your fire out and always have water available and always build your fire in a cleared area.
Paul Kohlmeyer is a DNR fire prevention specialist. Paul, thank you very much for sharing some of your expertise and some tips about how to stay safe this summer when it comes to handling fireworks or campfires or any other fire risks that folks might encounter as they're enjoying Michigan's great outdoors.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's been a pleasure.
Clearly Community is a public affairs program of Clear Channel Media and Entertainment.
Clearly Community is brought to you by the Michigan Department of Community Health, the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline. For free professional confidential help available 24 hours a day, call 1-800-270-7117. That's 1-800-270-7117. Clearly Community is brought to you by Michigan Department of Community Health. Need help quitting smoking? Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-480-7848 to get your quit coach and to set your quit date.
Listen again next week at this time for another segment of Clearly Community right here on your favorite Clear Channel Media and Entertainment radio station.
Fox News Radio, I'm Liz White.
We wait all winter and we say we can't wait for summer. What did you expect? It's hot.
He's coping with the summer swelter in Philadelphia. Relief's on the way in some spots.
A big improvement to where we were yesterday at this time. 74 in Chicago, 72 in Seattle, 74 in New York. That is much improved. Areas a little to the south, though, still dealing with that heat, and they're going to have it for one more day.
Fox News meteorologist Rick Reichmuth. At least 30 heat-related deaths reported across the country. International donors meeting in Tokyo pledging $16 billion in development aid for Afghanistan. Afghan President Karzai saying it's critical for his country
to be accountable and to improve our practices so that the hard-earned dollars of your taxpayers are utilized most effectively.
The latest violence in Afghanistan killing 16 civilians, 5 policemen, and 2 NATO troops. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes.
And good morning, Muskegon, and all of you out there in radio, podcast, and iHeartland, and even computerland if you're sitting there with your computer. I've got a lot of friends who listen to EyeOnMuskegon and on their computer. They don't even have AM radios, which is, I guess, a sign of the times. But this is EyeOnMuskegon, and I'm Jim Riley here in Muskegon's Clear Channel studios with my friend and engineer, that legendary man, Oscar Osbo. Oh, how clever are we on a Sunday morning? That's as good as it gets, folks. Right. And but we do have two hosts here, two folks here with to help out. The equally legendary Professor Andy Fink. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Jim and Oscar.
And we got a new face here, Muskegon Community College trustee, and I would say certainly one of the bright faces in the local Democrat Party. Sean Mullally.
And my
good morning.
employer.
Thank you, Jim, and good morning to you, too.
Well, thank you. And as Andy said, Andy is essentially the employee of Sean Mullally. But, of course, Sean, as an elected official, is the employee of all of us. So I guess, Andy, in the pecking order, you're way down there.
That's the circle of life.
Pretty much. Well, we do our best to keep our number one rating as West Michigan's top-rated political talk radio show. And, we are the only media that I'm aware of that has live political face-to-face with candidates. Of course, we've done many of the senatorial candidates, and we really don't have time, unfortunately, with only an hour and a half a week to talk to all of the candidates that are coming up for this primary election, but that's what we're going to focus on today. We will, this is, to me, a very critical election coming up. We have one-third of all the county commissioners, the prosecutor, the sheriff, and a whole slew of other elections on August 7th, which is the primary date, that will be determined solely in the primary. So those folks who look forward to the November elections, which certainly are very important as far as the president and the Senate, some of the other elected offices, but for Muskegon County, August 7th is really what it's all about. And, one of the reasons I consistently tell people to listen to this show is that even if you don't live in Greece, or even if you don't live here, but you don't live in Greece, you don't live in California, maybe you live in Detroit, or you know somebody who lives in Detroit. But the facts are that when Greece has problems, or California has problems, or as we well know and have known for decades, Detroit has had problems, money is diverted from our state funds and our local funds to go fix Detroit. When Muskegon Heights has gone through its terrible, terrible financial disaster, it's awful for the folks and the students and the parents in Muskegon Heights. But it's not just them who's paying. The rest of the state will be chipping in. So things that might have been done to make Muskegon, the city of Muskegon, or other of the municipalities in Muskegon County better, that money is going to be diverted to help get Muskegon Heights out of its mess. And I think most of us know that it truly is not rocket science. If you spend more than you bring in, you're going to end up in a mess. And we're seeing this happen certainly in Muskegon County at a frightening level. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this show matters no matter where you live in Michigan, because we're trying to keep Muskegon, the county of Muskegon, out of the kind of financial disasters that is very close to, but that Wayne County and Genesee County and certainly Muskegon Heights are facing today. So we don't want that to happen. We do believe that the sunlight of our show and the media, that when people know what's going on and we communicate that we do know what's going on to our elected officials, they'll do the right thing rather than kind of scurry around in the shadows, which sadly I believe they've been doing for far too long in Muskegon County. Hey, we do want, I've mentioned this before, but we do want reporters. If you've seen something, I got a very interesting email just last night, and I haven't had a chance to really confirm it, but it talked about some of the mailman from the U.S. Postal Service that are aware of all sorts of folks that are not going to be around, but yet are delivering absentee ballots, and some of the information that they may have. Now, I have not been able to confirm that, but if you've got any information, certainly give us a call. Our number here is 231-421-4409, or you can email me. I'm sorry, that's the home number, the 421-4409.
Yeah, they're all calling there now saying, where is he?
Well, they can do that because I have voicemail. But if you want to call into the station right now, you can call in 231-830-3109, and or you can email us at EyeOnMuskegon@gmail.com. But we are looking for those folks who are interested in making our community better. We want transparency and sunlight and openness in our government. And as I have quoted before, one of my all-time favorite quotes by the patriot, the great patriot Patrick Henry: "The liberties of a people never were nor ever will be secure when the transactions of their rulers may be concealed from them." And with the sad collapse of the newspapers in our state, we are one of the few remaining outlets that are really looking to provide commentary, opinion, and information, up-to-date information about those people who either are looking to get elected or are currently elected and running very, very important political positions in our county. So with that said, on this day, I'd love to go into on this day stuff, historical events. And we all celebrated the 4th of July on Wednesday. But on this day, in 1776, Colonel John Nixon, I wonder if he was a relative of our President Nixon, but he gave the first public reading of the U.S. Declaration of Independence to a crowded Independence Square in Philadelphia. So,
did he end it with "I am not a crook"?
Probably not, although actually by the definition of the British monarchy, he was a crook, I suppose, of some sort at that time. A couple of other things happened. Edward Berner, who was a druggist in Two Rivers, Wisconsin. This is in 1881. You may have heard this because we're close enough to Wisconsin. But in 1881, poured chocolate syrup on ice cream in a dish. Now, prior to this, chocolate had only been used for making ice cream sodas. This is the first time an ice cream sundae had ever been made.
And the world was never the same.
And the world has not recovered from it. And a couple of birthdays, Wolfgang Puck, Angelica Houston, Kevin Bacon, and, of course, everybody's favorite, at least my favorite, here's Toby Keith, born in 61.
Do you think that Werner was related to the Werner in Detroit who invented soda, essentially?
This is Berner.
Oh.
Berner. We've got to enunciate, Jim, and we won't confuse folks. So, no, this is a gentleman named Edward Berner, but 1881. So until then, I mean, think about that. No one had ever decided to do that. And I think back in those days, you didn't go to your grocery store and get your own little can of chocolate. It probably had to be done in a soda shop.
The story is, and perhaps apocryphal, is that sodas were not allowed to be sold on Sundays.
Oh, I have a vague memory of that. Yes.
So he just took out the soda part and made an ice cream sundae.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I believe I've heard that same thing. Hey, a couple events that are coming up. One tonight, I don't know if you've ever seen the Truth in Jazz Orchestra, which is it's got about 20 people. Local Muskegon residents. They used to play at I think it was the West Side Inn, a bar, and they all crowded in there, and I don't know if they do that any longer, but tonight they're at Fricano, the Fricano Event Center, 5:30, and they really are worth a visit, and that's something going on Sunday. And another thing I always like to, we talk about this on the Talkin' Muskegon show during the week, but we have to go a week in advance because the LST 393 out there on Muskegon Lake, they had these fantastic movies on the deck. And I forget what they had last night. They had, Indiana Jones on a Friday night. They had them on Friday nights.
Which one? 1, 2, or 3?
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So
that was the third one.
That would have been the third.
It might have been.
That was with Sean.
Turns out it wasn't the Last Crusade, but it was the third one.
All right, well, there we go. Well, you guys are well ahead of me on that. But coming up this Friday, July 13th, Casablanca. And, what better place to see one of the legendary great films than on the LST 393, talking about the events leading up to World War II.
A World War II era film. Right on the deck of World War II era boat.
Black and white. The LST, even though it's got a lot of green, is really black and whitish.
Play it again, Jim.
There we go. And there's so many interesting misquotes from that movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, lots of them.
There's one.
Which, of course,
right there.
There we go. Well, it wasn't Jim, of course, but it should have been.
It wasn't played against Sam either.
It was not.
It wasn't. I forget what I remember that, too, yeah.
But, hey, another thing I do want to remember, because I quite often get off on a tangent. What a shock there. But I am at Carmen's every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 o'clock to 3:15 when there is a county commission meeting. And this month, because of the holiday week, there will be meetings every Tuesday and Thursday for the remainder of July. So if you're interested in a meeting with me and others who just show up, you don't need to buy anything, any coffee or any food or anything. Just sit down and talk about Muskegon politics. You're certainly welcome to do that. And right about 3:15, I leave Carmen's and I go over to the county building, where I have been going for now, over 2 years, almost 3 years, I guess, at this point, where I videotape the county commission meetings, and then I put those videos up on EyeOnMuskegon.com. And we got this fantastic music coming back. I guess we're looking for a break here, and we will be back. And when we August 7th, because there are no opponents running in the November election. So we will be right back.
Don't you love me sometime?
Have you ever dreamed of working for yourself, owning your own business, and having the freedom to work when you want? We're the marketing arm of a $3 billion energy company, immediately looking to find a few entrepreneurs or business owners who can recognize a great opportunity. Rarely are there offerings like this to make a minimal investment with the ability to create significant earnings and wealth. Learn more about becoming a part of our team at ejobswestmichigan.com. We provide the training and support to help you succeed. What are you waiting for? ejobswestmichigan.com.
Hi, folks. This is Tom Gresham, and I invite you to join me as I share safety tips, useful advice on buying and maintaining firearms, and having fun with the shooting sports on Gun Talk.
Sunday afternoons at 3 on News Talk 1090 WKBZ.
Betsy, look at these sweaters. They'd look amazing on our girls.
Maybe.
Come on, what's wrong?
Suzanne, I have no business being in the store. I should not be shopping. Things are really tight. We're behind on our mortgage.
Listen, Bill and I had the same problem, and we got some really great counseling, and it was free. I'm going to email you the information.
If you even think you may be in danger of foreclosure, call the National Foundation for Credit Counseling today at 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org. Public service from the NFCC.
Army Specialist Andrew Pike was paralyzed by a sniper while serving in Iraq. Paralyzed Veterans of America helped Andy get the auto, housing, and vocational benefits he earned. You can help our paralyzed veterans. Visit.
I knew I had a problem.
Eating and eating.
I felt so alone.
We understand. We're Overeaters Anonymous, and we have helped thousands of people just like you. Start living the life you deserve. Find us on the web at OA.org.
Or 2008, and they won't lose a penny in the next crash. A free report detailing this savings program is now available. To get this free report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com. Bankonyourself.com.
The Talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090 WKBZ.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes.
All righty, folks, we are back at Eye on Muskegon, and we're doing our little mini roundtable with the four of us. But we are talking about some very, very important elections that will finalize candidates, extraordinarily important candidates, in this August 7th primary election, because they do not face a challenger in the other party, so that once they win in August, it's over, folks. And too many people, I don't think, understand how important that is, and how, I guess, standard it is here in Muskegon. I don't know about other counties, but I was looking through the list of candidates. Now, we'll go specifically in a moment to the judges and the prosecutor and the county commissioners and the sheriff, but in the townships, which almost, I believe actually every township has their elections, only 3 townships of all of the townships in Muskegon, Blue Lake, Fruitland, and Holton Township, have a multitude of Republicans and Democrats running against each other that will result in the final election being in November. But Casnovia, 100% Republican. Cedar Creek, all Democrat with 1 Republican. Dalton, all Democrat with 1 Republican. Eggleston Township, all Democrat with 2 Republicans. Fruitland, we talked about Fruitland. Fruitport Township, all Democrat with 1 Republican. Laketon Township, all Republican with just 2 Democrats. Montague, all Republican. Moreland, all Democrat with 1 Republican, 2 Republicans. Muskegon Township, all Democrat with 1 Republican. Ravenna, all Republican. Sullivan, all Democrat with just 1 Republican. And White River Township, all Republican with just a couple Democrats. So we don't really have time to do the homework and to provide you with the information on these races. These are trustees and township supervisors and township treasurers and secretaries and things of that sort. But they're quite important. And again, if you do care about your community, now is the time. We're running out of time. Now is the time to get yourself educated. And like I say, I wish we did have more time. I had sent a letter, an open letter, which the Muskegon Chronicle did very nicely on their part publish, but it wasn't intended to be a published letter, not that I mind, but I was imploring them. I was pleading with them, and I sent a copy to President Nesberry at MCC, and I sent a copy to the folks at the Muskegon Chamber of Commerce, and of course the Muskegon Community or Muskegon Chronicle, asking them to get the information out to provide either forums or debates or some other way for people to vote, because while the August 7th election is critically important no matter how you cut it, it's important we get the information out now because the absentee ballots have been sent out. And in some of these races, you're going to have as many as half of the votes will come in, perhaps more than half of the votes will come in via absentee ballots, and they're already being submitted. They're already being received at the townships and the cities. So a lot of folks are making voting decisions, perhaps without the information that they really ought to have. And we have, for so long, we have depended on MCC, who's very nicely put on the debates and forums. The Chamber of Commerce, I know, does have some type of rating system that they're going to be putting out for some of the candidates, but that's not out yet. At least I haven't seen it yet. And the Chronicle used to do, I think, at the very least, it would present who the candidates were. None of that's happened yet, and I think perhaps they're waiting until they get closer to the August 7th election, but they're not fully appreciating that we are in a changed world, in a world that does have absentee ballots that are becoming more and more and more important. And if people are going to start voting at the beginning of July, which in fact they are, then we really need that information out much more in advance than just a week or so before the election itself. So enough. I'm off of my that particular soapbox for the moment. Let's start with Andy. I'd asked Andy to do a little research on the 3 county commission seats. Now, this coming year, we will have only 9 county commissioners for all of Muskegon County. Every single one of the current 11 is running, so some of them are running against each other. And but 3 of those elections, fully 1/3 of the county commission, these are the leaders who are driving the direction of Muskegon County. 3 of those county commission seats will be fully and finally determined in the August primary because there are no opponents from the opposite party. And Andy, as he's shuffling papers like I did for my first 6 months of the show, why don't you start on one of those races and we'll just attack you mercilessly?
Well, let's just get one of them out of the way then. District number 3 pits a local gadfly radio show host and open meetings advocate against a long-term public servant and Mr. Nice Guy. And that is, of course, our own Jim Riley is trying to unseat Bob Skolnick as the commissioner from the Norton Shores.
And who's the nice guy?
District number 3.
And I'm, without any question, anybody who's listened to this show knows that I'm the nice guy. So.
There you go.
But it is District 4, just as it is? A correction. It is District 4.
And, of course, that's what I meant to say.
There we go.
So don't go and vote the wrong place.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yes. But you know what? Let me just touch on that, because the districts are changed.
Yes.
From when we had 11. Now we're going to the 9. So not that the numbers really matter. You'll see that when you get in there and see your ballot.
But I think what makes this interesting is that everybody, including Jim himself, thinks that Bob Skolnick is a man who served their community in many ways very well. He's a successful entrepreneur. But Jim's point is that he is not a good Republican county commissioner. And more importantly, he is not a good county commissioner at all, because he is not voting he votes for excessive union budgets, and he goes along with the Democrats on almost all the issues. And he is not, he's part of the let's keep everything hidden cabal at the county commissioner's office. And I think that Mr. Riley's point is that we need a different kind of county commissioner.
Well, I'm going to respond to that, and thank you. It's essentially pretty accurate. And by the way, I have invited on numerous occasions every single county commissioner to be a guest on this show, and that invite remains open all the way through, well, anytime for that matter. But my biggest argument, the single, is because we have a $110 million, $109 million underfunding, which is off book, by the way, so that when someone says when a county commissioner says that we're balancing our budget every year, well, they're sort of not lying to you, because in fact they are balancing the budget, but they're not telling you that at the same time they've gone out and got a bunch of credit cards and borrowed $109 million, which keeps growing, by the way, every year, that is off book, and that at some point young folks like, or younger folks like Sean Mullally will have to pick up. I think that's criminal. So if you're not happy with the direction that the county's gone, then you want to look at those county commissioners and how they voted. Well, the Democrat county commissioners have always been, at least to my view, I disagree with them on policy, but every one of them has been absolutely and clearly honest. They said we are for the union people, we want more union jobs, we want more union benefits, and we strongly agree in the expansion at any level, be it the bus, the MAT system, be it Brookhaven or whatever. We believe in the expansion of Muskegon County government. I may disagree with them in policy, but certainly not in their honesty. Unfortunately, three of the long-term Republicans, John Snyder, Marv Engel, and Bob Skolnick, my opponent here, have voted with these Democrats 100% of the time on every union contract, and about 99% of, actually a little more than 99% on every hiring and on every spending item over the tenure or the 9.5 years that they've been commissioners. So if you think that you're voting for a Republican because in fact he's going to do something different than a Democrat, you're wrong in Muskegon County. And so I think Bob and the other three Republicans have let us down, at least in the sense when they say, wait a minute, we're doing something different than the Democrats. They vote exactly the same.
Jim, one comment you made is there are $120 million in the red in their budget. But 110. 110. But aren't they paying off that debt every year a little bit, like $3 million a year?
No, they're not. That's what they have said. There's two types of debt that it's not even debt. Because it's not a debt would
it's
require
an obligation, but it's not liquidated to a certain amount.
Yeah, let's talk about that because this is something the other ones will get into, and we're going to have to come up on a break here shortly. But there is pension obligation, which in fact has been sort of brought into control and is really not the serious problem. But the big one, which is about $80 million and growing every single year, are the post-employment benefits. In other words, the promises for the health benefits. And they made a big deal about changing the health benefits in this most recent year, where they did make some cuts, but they were very, very minor. But then they went out and wrote a check to every single county employee for $600. That's the $2.4 million came right out of the budget to, in essence, mitigate the savings that happened. That continues to grow. It will continue to grow as long as you're paying health benefits that you've not accounted for. And I have stood in front of that board before they made their votes, and I said, folks, before you vote on this, please tell me that you've looked at what the cost will be for these new contracts, because they just voted the 10 new contracts. Whoopsie days. Well, we just got the... Who needs me talking when we got great music? We'll come back right after this break.
Don't you love me sometime?
Gives you 800 real radio stations across the country, so you never miss your favorite show. Plus, you can create commercial-free custom stations. Type in a song or artist on your phone, online, or with the iPad app. Check out iHeartRadio.com. Sponsored by Dish. Get the hopper when you sign up for Dish. Call 1-800-WATCH-TV today for details.
America had just gone to war when Felipe Adams volunteered.
I took a bullet to the side and left me paralyzed.
For Armando de la Rosa, the Navy was a chance to serve and see the world.
I got medically discharged in 2001.
For injured veterans like Felipe Adams, there are veterans like Armando de la Rosa ready to help.
Our training is to better the veteran.
Paralyzed Veterans of America, changing lives, building futures. Visit PVA.org.
A word from the cast of Hot in Cleveland.
Want to hear a joke?
Oh, yes.
Sure. What's the #1 killer of women?
Well, you're still here, so that rules out crankiness.
And tracksuits. Heart disease. But that's a joke? No, it's an absolute fact. But the American Heart Association says you can save lives by passing it along to 5 women you love.
Aww.
So I'm starting with 3 I tolerate. That's a joke.
Find out more at goredforwomen.org.
If you even think you may be in danger of foreclosure, call the National Foundation for Credit Counseling today at 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org. That's 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org. This has been a public service from the NFCC.
24,000 children die every day from preventable causes. My name is Lawrence Fishburne, and I believe that number should be 0. Believe in 0.
Join the effort. Visit unicefusa.org.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler. Success in Tokyo. 70 countries at a conference to support the future of Afghanistan.
After intensive effort with the international community, Japan has announced that $16 billion has been pledged to support Afghanistan's development over the next 4 years, more than enough to meet the World Bank's estimated requirements.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, 2 NATO service members, meantime, killed this weekend in Afghanistan. One in an insurgent attack today, the other in a roadside bombing Saturday. 16 Afghan civilians and 5 police officers also killed in bombings. In southern Russia, at least 150 dead in massive flooding.
In a matter of hours, 2 months' worth of rain had fallen. With the waters rising above head height in some places, roads were turned into deadly rivers, which were impossible to escape.
Sky News reporter Jane Duvall, more than 120 drowned in floodwaters in India. Not enough rain in much of this country.
More than half the United States is experiencing some kind of drought right now.
For, say, the Corn Belt of the United States, it's looking a little bit like what we saw back in 1988, which was the last big Corn Belt drought that we had in the U.S.
National Drought Mitigation Center Director Michael Hayes says he could not definitively say that this situation is linked to climate change, but that drought has occurred and will continue to occur in the U.S.
Maybe later we can go back and put it into a historical assessment and maybe see if things are getting more common or not.
Though he says water is a precious resource, so if you're in a drought area, conserve when you can. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News Radio.
At least 30 heat-related deaths with record heat from Maryland to South Dakota. A cool-off starting today. And the men's Wimbledon final just starting. Andy Murray helps to become the first Brit to win since 1936. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Cold steel, rough concrete, tough plastic, synthetics. Today's world is enough to make us lose our real sense of touch and feel hundreds of miles away from nature. Luckily, that's not the case. There are places all around where you can get in touch with nature. At the National Wildlife Refuges. Here you can experience the warm, inviting touch of nature at every turn. Feel the smooth, gentle bark of a white birch tree on your fingertips. Walk barefoot on the smooth, water-worn river stones. Feel the soft moss lining a towering wall of limestone. When you feel these things, you're feeling the world the way we found it. With over 500 refuges across America, you don't have to go far to make a special connection with nature. Learn more at fws.gov/refuges. That's fws.gov/refuges.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dadgum.
And we are back at EyeOnMuskegon, Muskegon County's #1 rated political talk radio show. Oscar Osbo, we've got Professor Fink, and we've got a newbie here with us, handling the left side of the table here, Sean Mullally. Thank you for showing up, folks.
I think you should say author.
Oh, that's right. Go to just Google Sean Mullally and bingo, it takes you right to his book site. And since you're here, why don't you give us a little the author's blurb about how fabulous your book is and where they can buy it?
Well, it's We the Future is the title, and it's available online on my website, SeanMullally.com. I wrote it last year. I call it an equal mix of history, politics, and economics. three things that really interest me.
Okay.
And I learned plenty writing the book. I probably read 10 pages for every page I wrote doing the research. And,
one would hope.
Really enjoyed the process, and happy to share it with anyone and discuss.
Now, I saw that it was on sale at Carmen's Cafe in downtown Muskegon. Do they still have copies available there?
They still have copies there.
Okay.
And I've had it in Booked for the Season bookstore down in Lakeside, and the Book Rack in Norton Shores as well as the Book Nook and Java Shop up in Montague.
Oh, great. Okay. And then can they also, if you just Google Sean Mullally and get to that site, can you order it online also?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
wonderful.
available online as well.
Great. Well, I've always wanted to write a book. I'm jealous of you, and good for you. And sometime we ought to maybe have you in and talk about just how you got that done, because there are a fair number of West Michigan and even Muskegon County authors, and now with the ability to do these things online, and I know I no longer read books. I just read my Kindle voraciously. So anyway, let's get back. We're going to go to Andy. We're talking about those elections coming up in August 7th primary that will be final. Because there are no challengers in the November election. And Andy, you just allowed me to spend too much time talking about myself, which certainly that's what this show ought to be about. But you've got another one.
Yes, in District 8, which is a district in the city of Muskegon, I said District 8, and Sean just pointed out that I was reading District 6. And boys and girls, this will happen to you more and more as you age.
Well, numbers don't matter because, again, when you go into your ballot box, you'll see the correct one.
Yeah, you don't have a choice to vote in the wrong district. The incumbent is main name is Longmire, and I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me. It's Anthony Longmire, and he is at the risk of sounding like our vice president, he's a good-looking, articulate young man.
He most certainly is.
He attended Baker College, and he's employed at the Gerald Ford's Job Center. And he's got a little history in this district. He lost a close campaign to long-term incumbent Bill Gill in 2008. It was a three-way race, and Bill Gill just barely edged him out.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, but in 2010, he beat Bill Gill in a two-man contest in a primary.
Quite an accomplishment to overcome that name recognition.
Yes, it shows you how attractive Mr. Longmire is as a person. He supported the initiative to allow felons to apply for jobs in Muskegon County. This, I believe, was a Republican Alan Jaeger initiative, but he supported it.
Yes, he was vocal in that also.
And he has also supported growing crops at the airport for biofuel. I don't quite understand that. His opponent, at least the most well-known opponent, is Charles Nash. He's a former member of the school board of Muskegon and also a former county commissioner. He comes with carrying a bit of baggage with him. Well, when he was elected to the school board, when he was elected to the county commission as a school board member, he refused to resign the school board, even though the attorney general said he had to, and the local prosecutor or the local attorney said he had to, county attorney. And
a lot of tax dollars, by the way, were wasted on that by the Muskegon School Board, the county commission, and I would imagine probably the state too, in terms of legal advice.
And finally, when he agreed to step down from the school board, he tried to attach a condition to it that would let him name his successor. Well, they wisely rejected that. He left the county commission to run for state representative a couple of years ago, and then he tried to get back on the school board. While he was on the county commission, he pushed local preference in contracts for the county. The third person is interesting, and he's a friend of mine, Joshua Eldon Brady. He lives in Muskegon. He has a little farm in Muskegon. He has a website about his farm. He's a substitute teacher, and he's an attorney. When he lived
did not know that.
Yeah, and when he lived in Albion, he sued the city of Albion because they were not giving him the proper tax break for his homestead, and he won the suit in the Court of Appeals. So he's kind of an interesting man, and I have to know him because he was the director, the organizer, the producer of our church's presentation at the local cemetery where we acted out people who were buried there. I was Captain Jonathan Walker.
Oh, all right. Okay, well, now you are an ex-attorney. Is he a practicing attorney at this point?
Well, yes, but it's kind of like we were talking about in the break of journalism. You can go to school and you can become a lawyer, you can be an attorney if you've got a client, but that doesn't mean you can make a living at it. An awful lot of lawyers out there are struggling, and I don't know how well he's doing.
Okay, all right. Well, so just to sum this up, we've got an incumbent, a one-term incumbent, who I must say, as someone who goes, who attends almost every single county commission meeting, and certainly since these folks, since Anthony Longmire was brought on, he asks good questions. He's a very solid Democrat. He has four preferences in contracts, and he has voted with Bob Skolnick and the rest of the Republicans and the rest of the Democrats in every spending and every hiring vote. Charles Nash, I recall when I was going to the meetings, he was also, I thought, very involved. A guy who would ask questions. He was clear he was prepared when he went to the meetings, which is not clear with all of the county commissioners. And one thing I would like to say is I have seen some, and we're not going to talk about them in this get-together, but I have seen some of the candidates attending the county commission meetings, but very, very few. I have seen Charles Nash on occasion. I might have seen Joshua Brady, but I don't know who he is.
30-ish. With a long hair tied back in a ponytail.
Okay. Do you know offhand if he has been attending the meetings?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. And certainly, Joshua, if you're listening and you've been attending those meetings, and you're welcome to pop up on the show, too, sometime. But anyway, I think that, again, it's all Democrat in this district. The winner here will go on, will be the county commissioner, one of 9 for the next 2 years. So
I will tell you, the feel I have in the community is I think this race is going to come down to Longmire and Nash. And that's nothing against Eldon Brady. I'm just not seeing his name out there as much at this point. As far as Longmire and Nash go, they each have one-term experience now on the commission. Longmire's first term, and Nash had one term himself. Didn't run again, ran for a different office. I think the challenge for Nash is going to be convincing voters this is the job he wants. He's got some experience running for different positions. You know, he was on the school board originally, on the commission for a while, ran for state representative.
He came very close to winning that state rep primary.
Mm-hmm. And that's particularly interesting because, if I recall, it was when there were like 6 guys and 1 woman running.
That was a crowded race, and I can tell you that from first-hand experience.
Yes, it was a very crowded race. One of those 6 guys was sitting right here.
Oh, really? Sean, I didn't know that.
Yes. 2 years ago, 92nd House.
Okay. Well, we'll learn something at EyeOnMuskegon every single minute of every single hour and a half.
But I think if Charles Nash can convince voters, this is the job I want. You elect me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stick it out for a while, I think he'll win. If he can make that argument. But that's going to be a challenge for him, I think, because people see he gets elected to one position and he has aspirations.
Okay,
and there's nothing wrong with ambition in this life, but...
Yes, so him and Sarah Palin. Okay.
Well, that's interesting. Well, that's right. People do question, are you serious about that particular issue? And like you say, it's up to him to clarify it and convince people that, in fact, this is what he wants to do. I know this, that I would really like to see more of these folks who are running start attending these meetings so they know what's going on, because I know as somebody who is very interested and involved, it takes a while to figure out what's going on. So you're pointing, and I don't know what you're pointing at.
I'm pointing at the clock.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's move on. Let's take that 3rd county commission seat.
Which would be which one?
This would be Susie Hughes, who is challenging the incumbent Scott Plummer. This is in Muskegon Township, which I mentioned earlier is 100%. With one minor exception, Democrat. So again, if you live in Muskegon Township, you definitely want to be voting in the August 7th primary. Matter of fact, while Andy is digging for his stuff, we've got a call. Let's take that. Caller, are you on the line?
Hello. This is Joshua Eldon Brady.
Well, there we go. Okay, well, good to hear from you.
Morning, Josh.
I'd start with just clarifying. Andy kind of hit it spot on with his assumption about the legal practice. We're stuck in that some business, but not enough to live on. I have made it to a couple of the county commission meetings.
Wonderful. I'm glad you clarified that.
Most of the year I work sub-teaching and don't get out of school until about 4:15 or 4:30. Not able to a whole lot during the year.
That's something that I would like to change, and I would hope all the new commissioners would do, is that if we could make these meetings a little more accessible, maybe later in the day to folks, I think that would be a plus. But go ahead.
Well, I would definitely agree with that. I think when we were a more industrial city working on the shift schedule, being at 3:30 right after the first shift made a lot of sense. But today we're working with a lot more people that are working on 9 to 5s, and it does limit accessibility a lot, which is one of the big issues. That was actually one of the concerns I expressed at the last meeting I was at, is the accessibility and openness with what's happening with the jail decisions. And that we're not being open. We're not letting people know all the information. We're not being welcoming to people to give input.
Joshua, I couldn't agree with you more. As you may know, I was involved with attorney David Wells, who's a candidate for judge, circuit court judge, but we did have to file a lawsuit against the county for violation of Freedom of Information Act and Open Meetings Act about the Brookhaven debacle, which it appears that we have won at this point. We'll talk about that at another show, but they don't want to share information with the little people, and you apparently are one of them, as am I.
That's my first, big thing. The other thing I just wanted to mention, to me, that's the big issues. One is that you already hit on the openness with finances, the figuring out to make sure that everybody's in the loop. And to me, the second issue is our whole justice system, dealing with the jail, dealing with the public defender's office that isn't being run the way it should. The American Bar Association sets out standards for how a public defender's office should run. There's 10 of them. We meet none of them.
You know what? We can't keep you on for very long here, but you know what I'd like to do, and maybe you can contact me after the show. This jail issue is huge. I've got a letter going to the Chronicle shortly. I would like to have another show. We did have one before, but now we know more information. Let's get you back, Joshua, before the election. We'll talk about the jail issue, and maybe some of the other folks who are running for office would be willing to join us. So
that's a whole show topic.
I'll send you both contact information.
That'd be great. That'd be great. But thanks so much for calling in, and best of luck. Hopefully we'll get you on the show before the end.
And thank you for emphasizing to everybody just how important August 7th is.
Okay, well we'll remember your name.
Thank you.
All righty, bye-bye. Okay, we got to keep moving on here, and guys, I have no trouble if you wave at me and give me stern looks. If I get blathering on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one is Susie Hughes versus Scott Plummer race.
Okay, and that's in the Muskegon Township.
And this is really very similar to the Jim Riley versus Bob Skolnick race, except it's on the Democrat side. Susie is a friend of mine, and her emphasis is more efficient government, more open meetings, virtually everything that Jim has said about his emphasis.
Oh, my gosh, she sounds like a brilliant human being.
Well, yes, and she is, in fact. And she's involved in the Tea Party, according to her website.
I don't believe she is any longer.
Okay.
She may have been in the
past. She was involved in the Tea Party.
Well, again, because my understanding is because of the Tea Party's interest in balancing, municipal budgets, purely fiscal.
And most of the Tea Party people are there for fiscal reasons, despite what you read and hear about on MSNBC. Her opponent is Scott Plummer, and I tried to look him up on the web and didn't find out much about him, but he is a former Muskegon Township trustee, and now he's an incumbent on the County Board of Commissioners. He's involved with the Muskegon County Land Bank Authority, and he votes with the Democrats on all the issues regarding fiscal matters and union matters.
And the Republicans also soundly and roundly support him in those votes, too. Sadly, like I say, it's 10-1 is almost always every single vote, if assuming there is somebody not voting with the group.
Susie helped build her husband's business. They started off with a little bitty business, and now it's quite a successful contracting business. And
Hughes Builders.
Yeah, Hughes Builders.
Okay.
She's been intimately involved in that.
This race is a particularly interesting one to me, and I think it mostly revolves around one question. I look at the race, and they're both running in the Democratic primary, and that's going to be decisive. There's no Republican running in that race. And Susie Hughes decided to file as a Democrat, and I saw the same website profile that she wrote that you did. It was still up as of last night, where she describes herself as active in the Muskegon County Republican Party and the Muskegon Tea Party. And I think maybe since running for this position, she's stepped away from those two organizations, perhaps. But
that's interesting. Yeah, my understanding is that she stepped away actually many months ago from both. But it's interesting that there would be a website out there that would still have her listed as active.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she resigned from the Republican Party executive committee way back when, over 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's still up on the WZZM 13 website, and maybe it's an old profile that she's even forgotten exists. I'm not sure.
I would imagine it is. That's what I would think. Because she is running as a Democrat. And,
that's the question that's
address that.
You know, the 1,000-pound elephant in the room, you might say, is I want to understand her thinking of why she chose to file as a Democrat in this race. What has been her changing philosophy that has led her to switch parties? Does it have anything to do with looking at the voting history of that particular area? Because it seems to me you file in one party with no Republican opposition, she'd be the automatic nominee. But now she's in a contested primary. I'm not sure exactly where the reasoning is.
I think I can give a little insight there. We have our current Muskegon County Drain Commissioner, Dave Fisher, who I believe is quite a competent drain commissioner, ran initially as a Republican and got thumped a few years back. He ran again as a Democrat and won very easily. This is a Democrat county, primarily. Muskegon Township, as we saw, only has one Republican running for any of the offices. There are certain areas where if you're going to get elected, you really have to run in a particular party. And I don't know if that's what's going on with in this particular race, but I do know, for instance, Ottawa County has not elected a Democrat to any position at any time for over 100 years. But in fact, there are many liberal folks who have been elected running as Republicans. That's you know, in the old days, you used to be able to say, hey, if you're running for Republican, you stand for something, whatever it may be. You're running as a Democrat, you stand for something, whatever it may be. That's the biggest complaint I've got here with the old-time, long-term Republicans is that you at least expect the Skolnicks, the Snyders, and the Marv Engels to at least on occasionally vote separately from the Democrats. But in the reality, if you didn't know the names, you would see that they all vote together. So it could be that it's a convenience deal. It could be that there's a change. You know, the Republican Party, as we all know, 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, was roundly denounced in elections by just about everybody. Very few people were happy with the Republicans. So it's hard to say what goes on in the mind. I do know that Susie has a website that I've seen that's quite good, and I don't have the site on hand here. Maybe she can send it to us. Actually, those who've contacted us will put those websites up. I do know that just to be fair with Bob Skolnick, he does have a Facebook site called Keep Bob on the Job. So if you go onto Facebook and just plug in Keep Bob on the Job, you can see his information. Susie, I think maybe hers is a Facebook site too. I don't know about Plummer. Again, Plummer's been, I'd say, active. He seems knowledgeable. He seems that when he's at the meetings, he's done his homework. Again, he's a solid union supporting Democrat voting. He's proudly for more spending and the expansion of the powers and the responsibility of Muskegon County. So,
and he's got a longer relationship with that community. This is his first term on
Scott's got some history. Yes, he's got his job. Do you know? I know he's involved in inspections. So he's got he's got a business, and he's got a job experience that is, frankly, he has dealt with government for a long time.
He was on the township board.
He was on the township board, and his business now deals with inspections, where I believe he has to deal with townships and the like. Okay, we are going far slower than I had hoped.
We probably should take a break, but
okay, we'll take a quick break, and then we're going to speed up. You get chipmunk voices coming up here shortly. I think
There's tons of songs about saving your soul, but none about saving money on car insurance. Well, Esurance is built to save you money. So, shoo-ba-doo, saving dough, oh, oh. Esurance. Click or call.
Not available in all states. Savings may vary.
What is value? Is it more for less? Does it improve your life? At Dish, we believe value comes from TV that fits your lifestyle, not the other way around. Watch TV when and where you want to with Dish's Hopper Whole Home HD DVR. The Hopper delivers HD content to 4 rooms of your home and records over 2,000 hours of programs. And the Hopper's Primetime Anytime feature lets you set the DVR once and watch local primetime shows in HD for up to 8 days after they've aired. Discover TV that fits the way you live. Call 888-770-DISH today to find out more. That's 888-770-3474. Limited time offers subject to change without notice. Recording capacity limited in select markets. Hopper available with qualifying HD packages. Hardware and programming sold separately. Other restrictions apply. Call for details.
A message from Orlando Bloom, Liam Neeson, Lawrence Fishburne, Salma Hayek, and Taya Leone.
24,000 children die every day from preventable causes.
Like not getting enough food or medicine.
Or clean, safe water to drink.
But we are gaining ground. A generation ago, twice as many children were dying.
Still, 24,000 every day?
I believe.
I believe.
I believe that number should be 0.
Believe in 0.
Join the effort. Visit UNICEFUSA.org.
The language you're speaking it.
Real users agree. Rosetta Stone is the fastest way to learn a language, guaranteed. And to prove it, we want you to be a part of our biggest language learning event in history. Because in 2012, we want to help 3 million people learn a new language. That's why we're going to give you an absolutely free demo of our language immersion technology. To participate in this nationwide event, call 1-800-440-5181.
Rosetta Stone is, in my opinion, the ultimate method, the only method there is to learn a language.
For your free demo, call 1-800-440-5181. That's 1-800-440-5181.
The Talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you
Dadgum government. Well, we may not be fond of government, but we still have to vote these folks in. And before we get to the prosecutor and the sheriff, I'd just like to add one thing. You know, a lot of folks at the end of the Bush administration said, "My golly, I'm just so sick and tired of these Republicans that they've been running the show. We're going to try something else." I think that for those of you who don't really have a super handle on who should I vote for, at least on these the political offices, one thing that I would recommend, and obviously this is self-serving, but it's going to be a fact. If you're happy with the direction that Muskegon County is going, if you believe that they've got their debt in control, and you believe that Brookhaven and other things are being handled well, then you ought to vote for the incumbents.
If you like what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly. But if you think that there is a better way, if you think that there's something that really needs to be changed, the only possible way for it to be changed is to replace those people who've been making those decisions. So
Republican or Democrat.
Republican or Democrat, exactly. For those of you, for instance, we didn't get as detailed as I would like with the Longmire, Nash, and Eldon Brady. You can't deal. But the point being is that if you think Muskegon County's been driven correctly, wonderful. Stick with the incumbent. If not, throw the bums out, kind of a thing.
Can I endorse Susie? Just one thing about her is that you can tell just by looking at the pictures that Susie takes around the Muskegon area that Susie loves her community, just from the pictures.
Well, loving your community, which is lovely, but that doesn't necessarily make one a great county commissioner.
You got to love accounting and bookkeeping and
loves the
numbers.
community.
Well, yeah, again, love is one thing, but okay, let's get to the sheriff. Speaking of love, these are the folks that are going to fill our jail, and we will, we're going to do a big jail thing in a couple weeks. But go right ahead, Sean. You're the expert on this.
Well, we've got a couple of folks running for sheriff. We've got the incumbent, Dean Rossler, and he's being challenged by John or Jay Jerkus. And both of them have...
No, don't we have three, though? There's a Joel Dobus also. There's a third.
I think he's out there as well.
Okay, and they're all Democrats.
Yep, I'm not as familiar with him, but I know that Rossler's been in there. He's got the incumbency working in his favor.
Got the last name working in his favor.
The last name working in his favor. He had his father was very popular up in Montague, longtime first chief of police and mayor, Henry Rossler.
Okay, so that was our sheriff's father who just passed away.
Passed away recently.
Back in November.
After a very long time of public service.
Okay.
And he'll be missed there.
The Pumpkin Fest will never be the same.
Yeah.
There we go.
Dean pays homage to him a little bit in some of his mailings, and I think the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Both working in law enforcement, and the same goes for Jay Jerkus as far as it running in the family. His brother George Jerkus is, of course, our former county sheriff before Dean Rossler.
Okay, so we've got the two big names. We've got the Kennedys and the Bushes running against each other, I guess you'd say, the dynasties.
Jeez, who's the Bushes?
And I'm not sure that you should vote for someone because of their last name, but to a degree, it does seem to run in the blood for both of these fellas.
Well, have either one come up with or any of the three come up with any real specific arguments as to why you should vote for them?
Well, I know that both of them have a history in law enforcement. Jay is retired from...
he was a former sheriff.
Yep, in the sheriff's department. He's in his retirement now. He's working in photography.
Okay.
Looking to get back into the sheriff's department as the elected position. But he ran most recently in 2010 for the county commission. And
he ran actually against Bob Skolnick.
He did. So, position that you're familiar with yourself.
Yes, that exactly am.
He had some concerns that I think are perhaps similar to your own, and that's keeping costs under control. And he highlighted what the commissioners were paid as being maybe a bit high. So,
boy, that's the truth. The compensation to the current county commissioners is in the neighborhood of $40,000 a year in terms of total cost, but separate issue.
But I think one of the big things there is covering over that race, as well as the prosecutor's race and a lot of the commission races, is the jail.
Okay, now, Rossler is very clearly a supporter. He is the leader of the charge. He's been most articulate in the fact in his saying that we need a brand new jail building. How about how does Jerkus? Where does he come out on that?
I haven't heard him talk as much about it, but given his fiscal conservative background, I might anticipate he'd be a little bit more wary on the spending. But I can't speak from not having heard his position on that.
Do these guys have websites? Do you know, or blogs, or Facebook sites, or ways that you can we can find out what they do stand for specifically?
They do both have websites.
Okay, good.
I was able to find those. I don't have the websites.
Yeah, you can probably just Google it.
My fingertips, but I did Google them, just their names, and the websites came up. So
okay,
do a little bit more research that way on them.
Now, do we know much about the other fellow who's running, Joel Dobus? Is that pronounced correctly? D-O-B-I-S?
I was not able to find anything on him.
Okay,
so
all right. I know
really
he
have
was
much to share.
He seemed to be kind of a last-minute entry there. And again, all three are Democrats. Well, it would seem to me that if you're going to run against a popular incumbent, and there's clearly that Dean Rossler is a pretty popular guy, he's a pretty nice guy, and he seems to have been running the sheriff's department fairly well. He doesn't He may advocate for the contracts that the sheriffs have, but he doesn't vote for them. It would seem to me that if you're going to run against him, you got to say, I'm going to be a better sheriff than Dean because. I guess that kind of fits anyone running against an incumbent. Well, we don't know at this point then. So Jerkis hasn't made it clear why he would be better. At least we haven't found that out yet. Is that
not that I'm aware?
Okay, all right, good. Well, and maybe as time goes on, a lot of these candidates don't realize that the voting is going on. A lot of them probably are waiting as we get a little closer, and they're perhaps missing the fact that many of these votes are going to be locked up, mailed, and done by that last week in July.
They were at the parades anyway.
I will
well, that's true. Yes, they were. Yeah.
I will give it to Jerkis, though. He is getting out there in the community.
Yeah, I see his name a lot.
I see his signs all over the place. See him at a lot of public functions. I mean, he's putting the effort into this.
Okay. All right. Well, then, and again, for those of you who are listening, who are running, if you want to get on the show and get a little, at least a 10, 15-minute shot, we'd happy to have you. Okay, let's move on to the next one, because these guys all work hand in hand, and we're going to follow up with the judges, but the county prosecutor.
Now, this race has a little bit different dynamics because it's an open seat. Tony Tagg declined to run for re-election.
Absolutely.
And so, unlike the sheriff's office, you don't have someone challenging an incumbent. We have the biggest names out there are DJ Hilson and Mark Curtis that seem to be going head-to-head.
And Steve Corwin.
Steve Corwin's running also. I think he's making a little bit smaller splash, but he's out there.
Okay, Corwin is an attorney.
Yes.
A private attorney, is that correct? Okay. Hilson is an assistant prosecutor?
DJ Hilson is an assistant prosecutor.
Okay, and how about the other fella?
Mark Curtis has...
Mark Curtis.
About 10 years experience as assistant prosecutor.
He was the one that was let go, right?
And
he was the one that got involved.
He's the one that got let go.
Yeah. Okay, so he actually was I thought quite highly respected, but then he had the situation where that he had taken a vacation that had been paid for by a bail bondsman.
Yeah,
and then was he fired by Tony Tagg?
There was two of them. Yeah, there was himself and another attorney that were let go by Tony Tagg.
The prosecuting attorney,
but the other one's not running for prosecutor. So
there we go. Okay.
No, eventually it was, I believe, referred up to Lansing to look at if there was any wrongdoing, and they dismissed it.
Okay, so there was no legal wrongdoing.
No.
Okay, so there might have very well have been some bad blood between.
What it looks
Tagg
like to me is just a case of office politics.
Oh, really?
That's interesting. Kind of what I said in the beginning of it. Anyway,
and as it now comes out to election time, where you have the person Tony Tagg's endorsed, and I think has been behind for a while, DJ Hilson, and Mark Curtis challenging him. Yeah, maybe that's perhaps some of that office politics coming out.
Yeah.
I don't know what went on behind closed doors there, but. What I can tell you from looking at the resumes of those couple of candidates, they both have about a decade, DJ Hilson 12 years, Mark Curtis 10 years experience in the prosecutor's office. So they both know it inside and out. DJ Hilson does have Tony Tagg's endorsement. So
generally, I would think, like trying to simplify things, if you like the way Tony Tagg handled the prosecutor's office, then DJ Hilson is the guy. He's been endorsed by him. If
you're looking for a little bit of change, maybe a fresh perspective,
a different
then Mark
perspective.
Curtis is your man.
Okay,
but then again, he worked for Tony with Tony for a long time too. So then again, I mean, how much change is that going to be?
Well, that's a good question, and he'd have to articulate that.
With Tony having chimed in and endorsed DJ Hilson, I think
he fired
that
the
gives
guy,
you a
though,
little
so
bit of signal.
Why would he endorse Mark after
he
firing him?
We don't know why he got. Well, we know why ostensibly he got fired, but as Sean said,
we probably don't know the whole story.
Right.
Yeah, there's probably more to that, and it may very well have been involved in a philosophical difference in terms of how we handle cases. Tony Tagg was known as someone who was more aggressive on crime and going after folks a little harder than some judges. Certainly, I know some of the current judges in Muskegon County feel that there's a little too much over there. So you have a choice between the two, maybe. Now, Steve Corwin, how about him?
Steve Cordwin, I tried to look up some information on him. His campaign website's still in construction.
Oh,
so I'm not sure how organized his campaign is. I know one of our more well-respected elder statesmen in the community, Harry Knutson, has just recently come out behind Mark Curtis and given him his endorsement.
Oh, yes.
And,
okay.
As far as being a different path from what we've seen with Tony Tagg, one of the things that Mark has emphasized is he's going to be as low profile a prosecutor as he can be.
He won't be TV Tony.
One of the criticisms, yes, is TV Tony. Anytime a crime is committed in Muskegon County, you see Tony Tagg's face all over the TV screens.
I'm surprised Tony didn't carry a big stick when he was doing his commercials still.
He might very well be doing that.
I've heard it from people that live in Kent County. They know who the Muskegon County prosecutor is. They don't know who the Kent County prosecutor is. And these are people that live in Grand Rapids. I don't think we need to be having such a high profile every time a crime is committed around here. I don't think our crime rate is any worse than a lot of other comparable communities.
That doesn't say good things about Muskegon as far
our
as
prosecutor's office has been marketing our crime.
Right.
And so I think that's
an interesting point. Well, that's an interesting comment that the prosecutor has been marketing our crime. Well, again, I think you have a fairly simple choice here, at least to the extent that if you believe that the prosecutor's office has been handled well, then DJ Hilson is the guy. If you think that there's a change, especially a change necessary, but with somebody who's had hands-on experience as a prosecutor, then you've got. Oh golly,
that's pretty much how I would sum it up.
Mark Curtis, and the other fellow, Steve Corwin, of course, is a very well respected local attorney, and again he'll have to make his own case because we couldn't find his website.
I think that's a good summary, Jim. I think DJ Hilson, you've got a very clear continuation of the Tony Tagg years, and with Mark Curtis, you've got an opportunity for fresh, new leadership, but yet at the same time, he brings that 10 years of experience in the prosecutor's office. So you're not just getting somebody new, green off the street.
Well, let's go back to the same thing we talked about with the sheriff or the county commissioners. Again, if you are satisfied, you really think things were great, then you got some fairly easy choices to make. If you say, wait a minute, I'm not all that satisfied, I'm going to try something new, you've got two different guys to choose from, one of whom does have 10 years, like you say, experience as a prosecutor. So, alrighty, we are actually not too bad. We've got 6 judicial offices, or 6 judicial candidates for one office, and one thing that's critical, it does say this on the ballot, but you can only vote for one. If you vote for 2, you will spoil your ballot. Okay, we've got 6 very well-qualified folks running for one judicial seat. The top 2 vote-getters will then go on into the November election, but you only can vote for one. So please remember that.
Take a quick break, though, before we get into that.
Okay, and then we'll take a break and come back and talk about judges.
Listen up, lady.
I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know what to do about it.
I tried counting calories, I took pills, eating, and then more eating.
I really wanted to stop, but nothing could make me stop.
At one point, it was so bad that I just felt like giving up.
I felt so alone.
Like nobody else could possibly understand.
We understand. We're Overeaters Anonymous, and we have helped thousands of people just like you. People who want to stop their compulsive eating and start living a healthy, rewarding life.
Overeaters Anonymous, help me get my life back.
Now I eat in a way that's healthy and good for me.
I never realized what I was missing out on.
With OA, I am living again and loving it.
Start living the life you deserve with help from Overeaters Anonymous. Find us on the web at oa.org.
I knew I was stuck at this kid's house for the night, but those guys snuck up on me to try and pull the hand in a bowl of warm water trick. Well, that was enough for me. I went downstairs to sleep in the basement, even though it was pitch black. I left my sleeping bag upstairs, and that was a mistake, because it was freezing. I think it was probably the longest night of my life. To read more about the sleepover, check out Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Last Straw by Jeff Kinney. Explore new worlds and check out more cool books at your local library, and visit read.gov. Brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Fox
News Radio, I'm Liz White. $16 billion pledged in development aid to Afghanistan. At the International Donors Meeting in Tokyo, Secretary of State Clinton says it's to help secure Afghan gains and
to protect the already considerable investment that the United States has made, not only in financial terms, but in the sacrifice of our men and women.
2 NATO troops among 23 dead in the latest violence in Afghanistan, roadside bombings and insurgent attacks. Summer's hot grip easing up on parts of the U.S. with temps falling back down into the 90s. 30 heat-related deaths reported nationwide. All eyes on center court in the men's final at Wimbledon. Andy Murray facing Roger Federer. Those fans hoping Murray will be the first Brit to win since Fred Perry in 1936. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Hi, this is Brian Kilmeade, inviting you to listen to Kilmeade and Friends. I break down the biggest stories of the day in the news and tell you what I think. Plus, you get insight and perspective from my Fox friends like Steve Ducey, Gretchen Carlson, Brett Baer, Chris Wallace, Governor Mike Huckabee, Bill Hammer, Martha McCallum, and people like Geraldo Rivera, only on Kilmeade and Friends.
Catch it weekday mornings from 9 till 11 on News Talk 1090, WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dadgum.
And we are back. Always running out of time here. We've got to hit the judges here. 6 judges running for the top 2 positions will go into November. Make sure you only vote for one. Andy, you are judicial. You're an attorney. It makes perfect sense that you would be the judicial guru for this show.
And I before I get into the attorneys, I do want to make a comment on the last 2 races, and that is this. If you're not a Democrat, and if you're not going to vote in the Democratic primary, you have no say on who our county prosecutor and who our county sheriff is going to be. And I don't think that there's a Republican or Democratic way to run the sheriff's department or the prosecutor's office, and I wonder why they're political offices.
Well, and the same goes for some of the commission races, too, particularly the 3rd district there. We've got, with our somewhat closed primary system, if you want to participate in one party's primary, you have to vote strictly on that side of the ticket. So.
Well, I think it makes sense for the county commissioners to have a Republican Democrat, but I agree with what Andy just said, which was why are sheriff and prosecutor and drain commissioners, are they political? I believe because of the state constitution demands it, but that would be certainly something that if I was running for state rep or something, I might champion that. Perhaps we could change that. But we're tight on time here.
We do get a chance to vote for the judge, no matter which party we vote for.
Yes, and these are nonpartisan.
These are nonpartisan.
Which makes it even harder because typically, if someone's going to ally themselves with the Republican or Democrat Party, you at least have a sense, okay, well, they stand for this, they sort of stand for that, or at least they pretend to. Here we don't, it's nonpartisan, so it's much tougher.
Well, while I'm a lawyer, I've never practiced in Michigan, and I don't know these candidates except for 1 or 2 of them. So I want to tell you that it looks to me, on paper, that we have 6 good candidates, and we're likely to get a good judge. If you want more information, I would urge you to talk to your lawyer friends and find out about these guys.
Oh, that's that's an excellent spot. If you know an attorney who you respect, which of course that could be problematic in and of itself, but if you do know an that was a joke. But ask them. That's one way to get some information. But also, we're going to listen to Andy, and he's going to tell us.
All right, Joe Bush, and this is more or less going to be alphabetical, maybe not entirely. Joe Bush has a couple of interesting factors, but he graduated from Michigan State University in 1993. He graduated from North Muskegon High School in 89, and he graduated from Detroit College of Law, which is now located in East Lansing at Michigan State University, in 1998. A couple of interesting things about his background. He was a lawyer in a big insider trading case in New Jersey, and involved a Michigan defendant, so maybe that's how he got the job, but I think it's interesting that he was asked to go to New Jersey to try this federal case. And a little thing that probably he just should have not bring up, but it's an interesting factoid. His father was a lawyer who was murdered in this town when Joe was just a few months old. He's never knew his father.
Oh, my golly.
Wow.
He's the youngest of 5 people, and he's a past president of the Muskegon County Bar Association. He's been involved in a number of local matters. So that's Joe Bush.
All right.
Next, we'll give you Annette Smedley. Annette was a candidate for the prosecutor's office 2 years on the Republican ticket, 2 years ago on the Republican ticket. She has 6 children.
I didn't know that.
Pardon me?
I didn't know. 6 children.
And
oh, my God.
she became a lawyer as an adult after having 6 children. So while she's only been a lawyer for a few years, she's been married for 28 years.
It's obviously organized.
She has 5 grandchildren. She has another little interesting thing about her. She's primarily a public defender, and she's appointed by the judges to represent people. And one of her more notorious cases was that fellow whose name I did not bring with me for some reason.
The baby who was...
the guy who took this baby
kidnapped.
from the mother up in Ludington.
Ludington, yeah.
And the baby is not turned up. And on a M Live page, there was a man who questioned what kind of a person who would defend such a man. Well,
that's what
it's a person who's participating in the system and making sure that our Constitution is carried out.
But she's a trial lawyer. Has had good trial lawyer experience. Okay, let's move to the next one.
Moving on, let's try Karen Grunhout. She specializes in family law and Social Security disability. And she has experience in both criminal law and civil law. And she's been a circuit court referee for Muskegon and Ottawa counties. And I believe the circuit court referee doesn't do anything finally unless people appeal. They don't appeal. And it is though a judicial position.
Okay, well, and she is an attorney, and she has a family law practice.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Raymond Castrad. Oh, boy. Can anybody pronounce that? Castrava? Castrava?
Yeah.
There's no B. Okay.
Well,
I've heard it.
You figure it out.
There we go. Okay. And I'm reading here, he's a senior Muskegon County assistant prosecutor.
Yes.
Another one of these. Boy, we're going to need a whole bunch of prosecutors after this election.
He ran for district judge 2 years ago against
Andy Waringo.
Yeah.
Kind of a dirty campaign, actually.
I think he's tainted by that campaign. I thought it was an unseemly way to run for judge, and it was an unseemly way to treat an incumbent. And for me, for that reason, I don't much like him.
Oh, geez. Well, it's okay to have an opinion.
He might be an excellent lawyer and a man of high character, but that certainly turned me off.
Okay, and Andy, when he realized that there was going to be a little dirt in the air, he really geared up and blew him out in the ultimate election.
Yes.
Okay, got a couple more here we want to touch on.
Michael Walsh,
okay.
A man with an interesting background. He's only been a lawyer for 10 years, but he was a reporter and.
He's a reporter for the Muskegon Chronicle. I didn't know.
Yes,
that.
and from another newspaper earlier in his career.
Okay.
And he has a master's degree from the University of Oklahoma.
What do you bet he gets the Chronicle's endorsement here? Geez, I wonder.
He's been the president, or is currently the president of the Muskegon Bar Association, I think, or he's on the board anyway. And he's got some interesting endorsements. He's got endorsements from former judges and the current judges, including Anthony Waringo, we just talked about.
Okay. Andy Waringo. Well,
is Mike Walsh the only one amongst this list that has been both a private practice attorney and a prosecutor?
Mike Walsh, has he been a prosecutor? I wasn't aware of that.
No.
I don't think
no, he's not a prosecutor. No, he's just a private practice attorney. Yeah. And there's one other one.
One other one is a friend of mine.
Oh, I thought I saw that.
Oh, special prosecutor. That's not the same as being in the prosecutor's
not in the prosecutor's office.
Yeah.
No.
That's being hired to prosecute a single case because of a conflict or something for that reason.
Right.
The last one I'm going to mention is a friend of mine, David Wells, who has probably got almost as much experience as the other ones put together. That's a little exaggeration. But he's been a lawyer since 1976, and he practices in Whitehall. He used to practice in Muskegon. He was a managing attorney of one of Muskegon's prominent firms when he decided to move up to Whitehall. He's been an arbitrator, which is a judicial-like position, for a number of years, for over 20 years.
Well, it's like a private judge, is it not?
It's like a private judge.
I've got a friend of mine who...
But the point of it is you must make decisions. You must rule on evidence, and you must make decisions. And he works for the courts as not an arbitrator, but a mediator to help settle civil cases. And so he's quite familiar with the judicial system.
I had a friend of mine who's an attorney tell me that David Wells was the best trial attorney he'd ever seen. This was a few years ago. So, well, I know that, of course, David is also a friend of mine, so I'm a little prejudiced here. But I liked what you said. In terms of experience, it looks like every one of these folks would make an adequate judge. I know that David does have a pretty broad experience, and he brings two things to the table that a lot of people don't know. One, he's the father of an autistic child, so he understands what goes on, and he and his wife, by the way, have had foster children over time. But also, he is on the board of the American Osteopathic Association, where they certify osteopathic hospitals, and he has a knowledge of medicine that few attorneys have, and the things that are involved there.
And his father was a physician.
And his father was a physician. He was on the board of directors of
well, he's thinking.
The other
say too that he treats people with respect. Also, that's one thing I liked about David.
Without any comment on the character of the others, because I don't know them, I can say that David Wells is a man of the highest integrity character.
Well, this is going to be a particularly important election, I think, because
I agree.
You look at judicial judges, once they're elected, they're typically not voted out of office.
It's for life, you bet.
I mean, they're rarely challenged, for one thing, and when they are, like we saw a couple years ago with Wieringo, even when they're challenged, they tend to get reelected. So
yeah, this is almost like a Supreme Court justice. If you love the fact that we're not quite sure what we got with John Roberts as a Supreme Court justice, these folks aren't going to make quite as weighty decisions, but we will be living with them for a very, very long time, and. I think what we'll try to do on the website is have links to their websites. But again, these are going to be final. We're running again at the end of our time here. Just a couple things just to tie up here. We do post this entire show on the EyeOnMuskegon.com show. Usually get them up on Sunday afternoons. Don't forget, I'm on the Talkin' Muskegon show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with John Van Wyck and Brian Worsham. That's also on 1090 KBZ. Oscar's got us on primetime, baby. Every Monday night, TV 38 or Comcast Channel 397. Our little group here, we've got the video going on. You can watch us in primetime on Monday nights.
I'm a television star?
On television. You are a television star. Hey, thanks to Oscar.
That's why you combed your hair.
Professor Fink, Sean, all you listeners, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Be in touch with us. You can email us, give us a call. We need you to spread the word. We are interested in making our community a better place, and the best way we can do that is to get the word out on what's going on.
Well, thanks for having us on, Jim.
Well, you guys have been great. Appreciate it. We will be back next week. We've got a fantastic show. We're going to be talking about the initiatives, referendums, and all sorts of other stuff. So we'll have our promos going on during the week. Have a great week, folks.
If you love food and your heart, go grocery shopping with me, Mon, short for mono unsaturated fat.
And me, polyunsaturated.
We're the better fat sisters. Over here in the cooking oil aisle, choose canola, olive, and other vegetable oils. Liquids are better for your heart than solid fats.
You'll also find us in fresh foods like avocados, nuts, and fish.
Before you put any baked goods, packaged, and prepared foods in your cart, read the labels.
Avoid our bad fats brothers, saturated and trans. They love to clog your arteries.
We're heart healthier, but let's face it, we're fats.
We all have the same 9 calories per gram, so watch your portions.
And thanks for shopping with us.
The Better Fat Sisters. Be kinder to your heart. Learn more and get recipes at heart.org/facethefats. Nationally sponsored by Canola Info.
WKBZ Muskegon and WOOD HD2 Muskegon.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Polka Melodies. I'm Tom Sanaki, your West Michigan DJ, and we're here on the Talk of Muskegon every Saturday and Sunday morning on your favorite radio station. My goodness, it's Sunday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we have a polka dance going on today. So sit back, relax, enjoy, but get ready to go to Weir, Michigan today.
Hello, hello, hello. What a